Welcome back to my Ask a Knitter series, where I answer common questions that I get asked when I'm doing knitting classes. In today's lesson, we're going to take a look at what styles work well for larger bust sizes and the kind of modifications you may want to do for that. If you're enjoying this series, make sure you subscribe so that you can follow along and that you're going to be notified about all of the new videos that come out. So one of the common questions I do get asked about is what you do if you've got a larger bust size. Generally speaking, what people have difficulty with is that the bust size is larger relative to the rest of the body size. So if you've got a larger bust and your shoulders are wider and the rest of your body is wider, you can knit a larger size and there's less issues and it's pretty straightforward. But often the problems that people run into is that your bust size may be larger, but if the rest of you isn't, and you follow patterns where patterns are generally sized according to bust size, so if your bust size is bigger and everything else is smaller, and you knit for that larger bust size, it's effectively going to mean that all of the rest of your sweater is going to be too big. So that's actually quite a big problem, because it means that you're always going to end up with oversized sweaters that don't fit you, which is extraordinarily frustrating. Because of course, one of the biggest advantages of being able to knit for yourself is that you get something that fits. You get the right size, you can put in your own modifications, you can knit your own colors, you can pick the right fibers. There's all this different stuff that you get to modify yourself, so that if you are regularly getting a garment that is too big everywhere, then that's really quite a problem. So there's different styles of sweaters. You've got, what I'm wearing is a raglan sweater. This one over here is it's a saddle and set in sleeves, so it's kind of a little bit of a mishmash of the two. But some garments are much easier to modify than others. Like this one is seamless top-down raglan, which means that as you're increasing coming down here, that's going to increase the bust size and the sleeve size. It has been modified a little, as in the sleeves will slow down, so as the bust gets bigger, the sleeves doesn't get too big. But that's kind of a tricky one to modify, because you need to do a lot of calculations to know when do I need to stop the sleeves, how slowly can I pace the bust so that it doesn't impact the sleeves. So with the seamless raglan, or a one-piece raglan, there's a lot of interdependencies, and changing the bust size is going to have a knock-on effect in other areas. So if you want the easiest way to actually do that for a larger bust size is to find something, a style that each part is not dependent on the other, so that you can just change the size of the bust and you don't have to worry about the size of the sleeves becoming too big or the shoulders becoming too big and things like that. So that's why this is the style I've got up here, which would be a set-in sleeve style, or a saddle shoulder set-in sleeve. This one is a top-down seamless one, which is my preferred way of doing it, but they come in bottom-up, either seamless or knit in pieces. All of them are going to basically work the same way, it's just how you put them together will be different. And the reason I like it for being able to modify is you can set each part of the pattern and get it to work exactly right for you, and with a small amount of calculation you can get that to happen. So for instance, with this top-down one, if you start off with the shoulders and you measure your shoulders and you've got a smaller size shoulder than your bust would indicate, then you can start off with the pattern size for that shoulder. Just continue on with the shoulder for that size. So it may be one or maybe even two sizes smaller than your bust size would indicate on the pattern in the chart. And then you're going to work down to the point where you're going to begin doing increases. Now, if you're doing a top down, you'll have this part straight, and then this last section is going to have armhole increases, which will take you from the width of the shoulders to the width of the bust. So if you are going to want larger bust size relative to the top, you'll want more increases here. So what that will mean is you'll want to start doing the increases a little further up, so that you don't end up with the armhole too much bigger. But you can calculate that. You can say, I want 2 extra inches at my bust. I've got 5 stitches for every inch, so I want 10 stitches overall. Means that I want an extra, we'll say 6 probably, or 4 on the front and the same on the back, and divide in each side. So you're only talking about a couple of extra increase rows on each side here. So very straightforward. You just start a couple of rows sooner with your increases. Your bust size will fit and your shoulders will fit. So that's the most straightforward way of actually making those modifications. The sleeves won't change because your depth here is going to stay the same, so the sleeves will be the same. And the only other change you may opt to do then is if your bust size is larger but then your waist comes in, you probably want to perhaps add a little bit of decreases, maybe even some decreases just below the bust, or possibly, in this case it's an A-line shaping. Instead of doing A-line, just have it where it comes straight down. So you can change how the body shapes from that point down. But the biggest thing really for a larger bust size and a smaller overall body is go for a smaller size and make any modifications that you're going to actually need for your bust, increasing a little if you need and then decreasing a little so that both the body fits and the bust fits. And ideally, if you've got something where you can pull those numbers apart, it's going to make your life a whole lot easier. I've just pulled out a different style here. So this is a circular yoke style, and this is one that I'd be also kind of inclined to stay away from if you're trying to adjust for bust size, because this one, it's a top down, so you start with the size of the yoke, and similar to the raglan, you've got increases going down, but instead of having the increases down the raglan seams, you've got it in circles going around like this. So it means that you're very interdependent between the size of the neck and the size of the rest of it, because you've got regularly spaced increases. If you really do want to knit one of these, but you want to keep the top part up here smaller and then increase for the bust, I would be inclined to leave the top part as is and then probably put in increases kind of like a dart above the bust size, or even adding a couple of extra stitches at the underarm cast on. Because you know, when you've got a cast on across here and here, you could put a few more stitches onto the front, which will accommodate the bust. And then, as with this one, perhaps have some decreases going down underneath. But the same idea, kind of, it's the same thing that you want to keep an eye out for, is you want to measure more than just your bust size. You want to measure your shoulders, your neck, and your arms. Check all of those against the schematic, and if all of those are smaller and only the bust is larger, knit the smaller size and make the adjustments for your bust instead, and you'll get a much, much better fit. So I hope some of these tips are going to help you make adjustments for your garments. If you do want a few more tips, keep watching our Ask a Knitter series. We've also got a masterclass on fitting your knits, which will actually go into much more detail with a lot of these, detailing other little bits that you can add on. So for kind of a step up, that might be somewhere else you might have a look at as well. I hope you enjoyed our video today from our Ask a Knitter series. If you want to learn all about how you can fit different increases into colourworks, and the best place to do that, make sure you subscribe so that you're going to follow along. And thank you for watching.